Hi, this is Professor Salazar, and today I want to show you a Python script that can be used to create a bank account transaction system. So just a little bit insight as to what I'm going to be showing you all. I'm going to be showing you all some Python code, and I'm going to use it to show when you run this script, it's going to ask you if you want to log in to use the bank. And you're going to be able to use it in a way where you can check your balance, you can deposit money to your balance, or you can withdraw money to your balance. And I'm going to be using things like loops. I'm going to be using things like functions, and I'll be showing you line by line what the Python code is actually doing. So let me go ahead and start by sharing my screen. Okay. And as you can see, I'm using Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so everybody can see. What I would like to do first is show you how you can ask the user for a login before they actually start checking their accounts and going in there and withdrawing or depositing money to an account. I would like to first set up a piece of code that's going to allow the user to enter things like their username and their password. So this is something really easy that you can do. All you have to do is ask the user to type in their username and password and check it against something, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to type in user password, or I'm sorry, um, uh, username equals input, enter your username, okay? Okay, so this is just me asking the user to enter their username. Then I'm going to type in password equals input, enter your password. Okay, this is really easy. Now on the next line, I'm going to type on line 4, I'm going to type in if username. Actually, I can't really do a if else yet because I can't check it against a condition. So what I'm going to do up on top on lines 1 and 2, I'm going to type in correct username is equal to administrator, for example. And then I can type in correct password is equal to, and I'll just make up a password, password 123. And you'll notice that when I typed in a password, I use password complexity, meaning that I use capital letters, lowercase letters, symbols, and numbers. So a combination of that gives it a little bit of password complexity to the correct password. Now, these values are not going to change. Like, I'm not going to go so far as to making some type of a page where it's going to allow the user to change their password. This is just going to be kind of like set in stone, set up as a constant. The correct username is always going to be administrator, and the correct password is always going to be password 123. Okay. And assuming the user types in those values correct, then what it should do is it should say something like, welcome to the bank, or maybe it should show them a menu of a list of items that they can choose from. So here, for example, I'll type in the condition. If username is equal to correct username and password is equal to correct password, then it should do something after that. Like, then it should actually go in and display something. So I'll type in print login successful. Okay. And I'll say else meaning if that entire condition is not true, then else will print something like incorrect username and/or password. Okay. So let's take a look at this code. Let's run this and let's see how it works. I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen. I'm going to run this and it asks me to enter my username. So when it says enter your username, I'm going to type in administrator and I'm going to type in my password. Password 123. It says login successful. Okay, so this would not necessarily be ready for production or ready for deployment on a real world application. And the reason being is because when you're dealing with something more real world, you don't actually want to display the password as the user is typing it. What you would want to do is maybe show this as asterisks or maybe hide the entire password completely. Okay. So in order to do something like that, I can import a library that's going to hide the password for me called getPass. And I'm going to type in import getPass. And instead of asking the user for input on line 7, I'm going to type in password equals getPass.getPass, followed by enter your password. And now when I run this code, you'll see that when I type in the username, you're going to see the username. But when I type in my password, you're not going to be able to see it as I'm typing it. Okay, so here it asks me to enter my username. I'm going to type in administrator. And watch this. I know you can't see me typing, but I'm actually typing out password 123 and hitting enter. And now it says login successful. Well, it's not that the password is blank. It's that as I was typing it, you couldn't see that password. This getPass actually adds that extra layer of security for your password so that if somebody is looking over your shoulder, such as shoulder surfing, then they won't be able to actually read on your screen what the password actually is. And they would basically have to see what you're actually typing on your keyboard to actually get your password. So in this situation, importing getPass is actually going to protect my password from people looking over your shoulder and seeing what's on my screen. Okay. And I'll go ahead and run this again, and we'll see the else condition run. So if line 9, if something is wrong on line 9, but let's say the username does not equal the correct username, or the password does not equal the correct password, then the else is going to run and it's going to say incorrect username and or password. So I'm going to type in administrator, but I'm going to type in the wrong password, and I'm just going to type in 12345 as my password, and it says incorrect username and or password. So it really doesn't tell you whether it's both or is just one or the other here. And this is kind of what you want in a real world application, whether it's something running locally on your computer or maybe a web application like a website running. You don't necessarily want to just display to the user, hey, you got the username wrong, or hey, you got the password wrong. You want to make sure that, you know what, this might actually be in some type of an intrusion. Somebody might be brute forcing their way into my account. I want to make sure that I set it up correctly and in a more proper way where it's going to take care of that security. And it's actually not going to tell the user whether it's your username or password. You're kind of left to just think of this on your own. It could be the username or the password, or it could be a combination of both of them being incorrect. Okay. So let's move on from this. I'm going to go ahead and move on. And by the way, I'm going to leave this up here because in some type of a bank transaction type of application, I want to make sure that the user first logs in with their username and password before they can actually start using the bank. But what I also want to do is if I'm going to have the user log in successfully, then I also want to print some type of a menu to the user so that they know what to do next. So in this case, after the user sees login successful, I also want to print out a menu to the user. And instead of just doing it line by line, watch what I'm going to do next. I'm going to call this function called menu. And it's not actually going to do anything for me right now because I haven't defined the function yet. But if I define the function, I'm going to do this on top of the condition. And on line 9, I'm going to create the function. I'm going to define a function called menu. And within menu, I'm going to create the menu. So I'm going to say, I'm going to create a ribbon up on top. So I'll do 25 dashes. Oops, sorry, I forgot to encapsulate them in double quotes. Let me do this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And it doesn't actually have to be 25. I'm just kind of making it look a little bit more organized and uniform. On line 11, I'm going to give the user some options. And by the way, on line 10, I'm going to do a \9, which is, this is the escape character for a new line. Okay, so after it says login successful, it's going to go into this menu function and it's going to display a new line together with 25 dashes, such as like a ribbon up on top that you would see. Then I'm going to say 1 for deposit. All right, I'm going to create a new line and I'm going to say 2 for withdraw. And then I'm going to create a new line. 3 for check balance. And then I'm going to create a new line. Or 4 to exit. Okay. And on line 12, I'm going to have a closing banner, or should I say, I'm going to close the ribbon up on top. Sort of like that. Okay. Now I know I didn't create a new line, but because I did another print on line 12, it's actually going to create this on a separate line. So let's go ahead and run this and let's just see what the menu actually looks like. It's not going to go any further than that. But we're just going to see what the menu actually looks like. So let me move this a little bit higher and let's run this. And it asked me to enter my username. I'm going to enter administrator. I'm going to enter the password that you can't see. And it says login successful. And it prints out this ribbon for me. Okay, this is what I'm talking about here. This is what I want to show to the user after they successfully logged into the application or to their accounts, if you will. They have a menu displaying a list of options, so they can type number 1 to deposit money to their account. They can type number 2 to withdraw money from their account. They can type a number 3 to check their balance, or they can type a number 4 to exit out of the program. Okay. So we have that part correct now. All right. And you'll notice that all I did was from lines 1 through 7 was a login part where they logged in. Lines 14 checked to see if they logged in successfully. And if they did, it said login successful. Else it's going to print out incorrect username and or password. But you'll notice on line 16 how just right after they logged in successfully, it showed them the menu. Well, what is the menu on line 16? Line 16 calls this function to run. So everything that's in lines 10 through 12 are called by defining this function on line 9. Okay. Now, what I would like to do is create another function. All right. But if I'm going to create another function, I need to give the user an option to actually do something, right? So right underneath the menu, after the menu is displayed, I'm going to say option equals int input, enter from the following options. Okay, meaning they're going to need to select from 1, 2, 3, or 4 to do. So maybe I'll say select from the following options. And I'm actually going to create a another thing here that's basically going to loop every single time for the user to enter an option. And the only way I want them to not loop through is if the user typed in number 4 to exit. Okay, this is the only way I want them to exit out of a never-ending loop. And if I'm going to set up a never-ending loop or some type of loop where I don't know when it's going to end, I'm going to choose a while loop for that. So after the menu runs, I'm going to do this. While true, that's true with a capital T, okay? Now I'm going to indent option equals in input, select from the following options. Now, after anything is true, it's going to show the user the menu after they logged in, and it's going to run through this while loop continuously, asking the user to select from the following options. And if option is equal to 1, then I'm going to run this other function called deposit. And elif, meaning else if the option is equal to 2, then I'm going to run through another function called withdraw. And elif option is equal to 3, then all I'm going to do is check balance. So I'm going to have another function called check balance. And elif option is equal to 4, then I'm going to display to the user a sentence saying, thank you for using the bank. And I'm going to break out of the never-ending loop. Okay. So please stay with me here because I know it's going to get a little bit complicated. As I'm writing these functions, I still haven't actually created them yet. So I still haven't said what actually happens within each of these functions, the withdrawal, the deposit, or the check balance. But I know that a way that you can exit out of the program is by breaking out of the loop right here. Okay. So in reality, the only option that is actually working here is number 4. And we could actually test it out. So let's go ahead and save this. And let's run it. And it's asking me for my username and password. I'm going to type in administrator and password, 1, 2, 3. Login successful. It shows me a list of options, and at the bottom it says select from the following options. I'm going to type in a number 1, and it doesn't know what to do with the function called deposit because I haven't defined it yet. So it's supposed to not work. But the only option that actually works is number 4. And I'll go ahead and test it out again. Select from the following options, and I'm going to type number 4 to exit. And it says, thank you for using the bank, and the program stops running. So as you can see, the only option that works is option number 4. So let's fill in the rest of those functions so this entire banking application can work. Let me clear the screen. And I'm going to go ahead and close the terminal just temporarily. And Now all I have to do is create those other functions, the deposit, the withdrawal, and the check balance. So right underneath the menu function, I'm going to define another function called deposit. Okay. And within deposit, what I want to do is I want to bring in a balance. Okay, but I can't actually bring in a balance yet because balance hasn't been created yet. So what I can do over on line 9, I can initialize balance to equals something, which balance is always going to start out at 0. For some banks, if you want to have a balance or have an account, they might ask you to have an opening balance of, let's say, $100 or $25 or $50. But everyone has to start somewhere. And in line 9, all I'm doing is initializing a variable so that I can use it throughout my program. Okay. Now, here's one thing to consider. If I'm going to be bringing over a balance from outside a function, I need to declare this as a global variable inside the function. So I'm going to say global balance, and that's going to allow me to use balance on line 9 within another function. Okay. So while I'm in this function called deposit, I'm going to ask the user to enter a deposit amount. So I'll call this variable deposit amount equals int input, enter an amount to deposit. And I'm going to take that deposit amount and I'm going to add it to the balance. So I'm going to say balance plus equals deposit amount. All right, so what this is doing, this plus equals, is it's taking this variable called balance, which right now it's equal to 0, and it's gonna take deposit amount and add it to the balance, which I'm asking the user to enter a deposit amount. It's gonna take whatever that amount is, and it's gonna add it to the balance. Okay. And by the way, it's going to stay stuck in this loop because after it finishes here, we're still in this loop where everything is true. And the only way to exit out of this loop is by typing number 4 when it asks you to select from the following options. Okay. So what I can do is this. Maybe right after I add to the balance, I could print to the user something like, thank you for your deposit. All right. And I'll actually type in a new line after that. Or should I say, this is actually going to type a blank line right after this sentence. Thank you for your deposit. Okay. Now I'm going to create the withdraw function. So I'm going to define a function called withdraw. And within withdraw, I'm also going to bring in this balance by typing in global balance. And on line 24, I'm basically doing almost the same thing as I did line 18. I'm typing in withdraw amount equals int input, enter the amount to withdraw. Okay. And I'm going to take that withdraw amount and I'm going to subtract it from the balance. I'm going to type in balance minus equals withdraw amount. And I will print out a sentence to the user saying, thank you for your withdrawal. Okay. Now, I still need one more function to run, and that's the checking of the balance. So this one's easy. All I have to do is print out the balance to the user. So I'm going to define a function called check balance. And I'm going to bring in this variable called balance by typing in global balance. And I'm going to type in a sentence to the user displaying their balance. So I'm going to say print, here is your balance. Okay. And I'm actually going to use the F string right here so that I can format it. And all I have to do is pass the variable by using the open brace, close brace. And within the braces, I'm going to bring over balance. And this is going to be a currency like a dollar amount. So I'm going to type in the $ right before the variable that I just passed. Okay. And again, it's going to stay stuck in this loop until the user types in a number 4. So let me go ahead and clear the screen. Let me do a Control C. Or let's see what I can do here. It's there you go. Let me clear the screen and let me run this. And you know what? I'm just gonna drag this window over to the top so you can see this entire thing running because it's gonna be kind of long. And it asks me for my username and password. I'm gonna type in administrator. And the password 123. It says login successful. It shows me my menu and it says select from the following options. I'm going to type in a number 1 to deposit money. And it asks me enter the amount to deposit. I'm going to deposit $100. Thank you for your deposit. Select from the following options. You see how it's stuck in this loop? It's always going to tell me select from the following options after I did something, because the only way to exit out of the loop is by running through the break, and the break is located in option 4. Right here, break. Okay. So I'm still stuck in this loop after I deposited $100, and it's telling me select from the following options. This time, now that I have $100 in my account, I'm going to do a number 2 to withdraw. And it's asking me enter the amount to withdraw. I'm going to withdraw $60. Now, if I subtract $60 from 100, it should leave me with $40. I hit enter and it says, thank you for your withdrawal. And it says select from the following options. So now I'm going to type in number 3 to check my balance, and it should show me $40. And it does. It says, here is your new balance, $40. And the only way to exit out of this loop is to type in number 4. And it says, thank you for using the bank. The only thing that I didn't like was, I don't think that I like this blank line that appeared after I made the deposit. So I may want to make changes to that. Right here on the thank you for your deposit, it actually added an extra line. So, and I know I did that to begin with, but I'm going to go ahead and remove it because I just don't like how that was shown. So let me go ahead and clear the screen, and let's run through this one more time. Enter your username, type in administrator. Enter your password. I'm typing in password 123, which you can't see. Login successful. It shows me in my menu. It's telling me select from the following options. I'm going to type a number 1 for deposit, and I'm going to enter the amount to deposit. I'm going to type in $120 now. And it says, thank you for your deposit. Select from the following options. Now I'm going to type number 2 to withdraw money and enter an amount to withdraw. Well, this time I'm only going to take out $40, which it should leave me with $80. So I'm going to withdraw $40, and it says, thank you for your withdrawal. Select from the following options. I'm going to type number 3 to check my balance, and it should show me $80. And yes, it does. Here is your balance, $80. And it's still saying select from the following options. I'm going to type number 4 to exit, and it exits out of the program saying, thank you for using the bank. So that's what I wanted to show you today. And I'm going to go ahead and maybe make my code a little bit smaller. So if anybody wants to see my entire code, I'll go here under the appearance and zoom out. And here you can see lines 1 through 35. And then if I scroll a little bit farther down, lines 35 through 45 are the while true, which means here's this while loop that's running. And then I actually added an extra line, so I'll backspace that. And line 47 and 48 are only running if the username and password are not correct. Okay. So I'll go ahead and leave that up so you can see this is what a banking application looks like. This is what happens when you use a bank. Let's say, for example, you need to first log into the bank with a username and password. If you log in successfully, you can see a list of options in a menu, and the program will ask you to, what do you want to do next? Do you want to deposit? Do you want to withdraw? Do you want to check your balance? If this was more of a real world application, I would have probably inserted more code here and have done another function called transfer, so that I can transfer money from one account to another. And in a real world application, you have things like that. So I'll give you an example of this. If you have a checking account and a savings account and you want to transfer money to and from, well, then I could have also added another function in there that can transfer between different accounts. As I think about this, I'm not actually done, and this is not actually complete yet, because what I could have also done was to check to see if the user actually has enough money to withdraw. So let's say that, for example, the user is down to 0 balance. They shouldn't be able to withdraw money if there's no money in their account. So I could have placed some type of input in there where I could have checked if the user actually had enough money to withdraw before actually withdrawing. A lot of times that might actually look like something you can leave. I know with some real world banking applications, they might allow you to have insufficient funds, or they might allow you to have a negative balance. But for the most part, this actually just works if you have enough money to withdraw from your balance, right? So I'll go ahead and stop right here. And I really love doing this type of lab activity because it shows how you can use if-else conditions. It shows how you can use a while loop. It shows you how to create a login. And if you know some basic things like adding and subtracting from a balance, you can add using a deposit, withdraw using, or you can subtract using a withdrawal. This is really easy to make. So if you have any questions, please send me an email. And thank you for watching this video.